Austerity is a lie. The sooner you figure that out, the sooner the better. You know, it's ideological. It's what it is ingrained in neoliberal, conservative economic policy. It is the essence. You know, austerity, taking money away from the public and giving it to the private. That is one of the main tenets of of all four political parties. You know, all four of them. Like, you know, we call them the big four. That's if you're ignoring the fact that the Greens are now bigger than the UKIP and Lib Dems. It's a lie. You know, we're going to have a Syriza moment here in the UK. I can almost guarantee it, because it doesn't matter unless we get the Greens somehow getting a majority government in May. We will have austerity. You know, if UKIP get in, they'll probably do what they won't give a. They will just wipe everything off. The Conservatives, they've got to pretend to be nice so people still want to vote for them. How that happens, I do not know. You know, Labour, the working class party, even they've said, you know, they will make £30 billion worth of cuts. It's a lie. It is what they wanted before. It's what Thatcher was doing before the global financial meltdown, before the credit crunch. You know, that's what they would. That was how she got elected. That was, you know, that was one of her key philosophies of destroying everything public. And now they've like packaged it up into something that's essential to pay off the deficit. Even though in the last, you know, years of our government, the debt has gone up, the deficit has gone up, you know, austerity has gone up, you know, everything's got worse. They're telling us, they're constantly pumping out these figures, unemployment up, wage growth, prices down, but I personally don't see it. You know, I work every day, I don't see it. It makes no sense at all to me that, you know, people, you know, on the news, you know, they're not going to show you the true effects of austerity. I listened to the BBC radio yesterday, and they was talking about cuts that the Birmingham City Council had, and they went through this whole list of cuts, and like hospitals, libraries, school closures, you know, they went through this whole list, and the one they focused on was the Christmas trees being cut from the budget, and they went out into the streets with a microphone and were asking people, oh, so the council's making a few cuts, what do you think, is it good or bad that we're going to pay for our own Christmas trees? You know, if you think that's the most severe part of austerity, is that there's going to be no public Christmas tree in Birmingham City Centre this year, honestly, there's people are starving in their homes. You know, you've got the bedroom tax making people homeless. You know, you've got people queuing around the blocks for food banks. Services cut, schools, you know, they said they're going to cut lollipop ladies. I mean, when at what point did we get to this, you know, this stage where helping young primary school children to cross the road isn't worth paying an old lady or an old man for a few hours work a day to save a little bit of money? It doesn't make sense, you know. Old people freezing to death, 5,000 people, you know, die of cold in the winter. How many people die of malnutrition or have malnutrition-related diseases in this country? You know, you see it in Greece, and it was severe over there. It was shock. Whereas here, it's like they're slowly turning the tap on. But, you know, it will happen. And what I don't understand is, you know, people are going to come to realise sooner or later, you know, these people that are going hungry or are going without heating, you know, these services that are cut, you know, benefits that are getting cut, making people homeless. You know, people are going to realise one day, you know, this person's homeless now. This person's like struggling to find money to feed themselves, you know, because the government are making cuts. So, you know, we can pay back this debt, this debt to someone. We didn't ask for this debt. We didn't want this debt. We didn't demand this debt, you know, and where did it come from? This money we've got to pay back to the central banks. You know, do you think when they create £1 billion, the central bank, and lend it to our government, do you think the central banks do £1 million worth of work to create that money? No, they print, you know, how much have they printed on QE? They just type a number into a machine, put loads of zeros after it, press enter, You know, and then that's it. The money is just created out of thin air. It's literally just plucked out of thin air. And people are dying to pay this money back. People are suffering, you know. Children are going without education, you know. People are like, hospital, people can't see doctors anymore. GP surgery closes. You can't visit your local library. Yeah, but to pay back an imaginary debt that someone's just magicked up, you know. Money doesn't have any intrinsic value. It's a piece of paper. It's meant to represent wealth, not be the actual wealth itself. You know, and people are falling over. George Osborne's falling over himself backwards to try and pay this money back. And we didn't ask for this debt. You know, when Greece collapsed, you know, after they got before the bailout, there was a referendum, and they cancelled the referendum because they knew the Greek people would see the conditions that this bailout came with and would say no. You know, Iceland, they had a referendum, and the people did exactly that. They said no, we don't want to borrow money if it means we're going to have to like basically sell our society to pay for it. It's not fucking worth it. There's got to be another way, and there is another way. You know, you can't. You know, people say, well, saying this about Iceland, and they're saying it about Greece now, you know, that, oh, well, if they don't accept this money, you know, if they turn their back on the central banks, they're going to be in the Stone Age. I don't believe that human beings need pieces of paper to survive. You know, I think there has to be another way other than a debt-based economy. You know, it's just so hard. You know, I'm on the outside of this, you know, and I can see it, and I can understand why people are sucked in and believe this myth. You know, it's like a fucking religion. Like, the economy is like a religion. You can't see it. You know, these people at the head of the Bank of England, you never see them. This like money, they create this money. You can't touch it. You know, it's all around us. The economy's all around us. It's all powerful. It knows everything. It's everywhere. If it collapses, if the economy wasn't there, boom, your life would be over. You know, and you've got to believe this. You know, it's a myth. You've got to have faith in the fact that money has value. You know, because if everyone lost that faith overnight, tomorrow we'd wake up and we'd be like, what have we done with our lives? You know, why are we slaving away, sending all this money upwards? You know, it's not worth people starving in their own homes. You know, it's not worth old people like being chucked into like poor care homes and just like the smallest amount of money acceptable thrown at them to like look after them in their dying years. It's not worth that to pay back a fictitious debt. And we will have our Syriza moment. It will come. Because people won't take it forever. People will wake up and realise austerity is a lie. Maybe it won't happen overnight. You know, we've got to build this. You know, it's not going to happen through us just voting. You know, because we've got so many barriers to overcome. We've got the media telling people, oh yeah, QE is fine. You know, telling people, you know, oh, it's time to forgive the bankers. You know, they're the ones that got us into this mess, the bankers. You know, and they've got such a, you know, when you've got money, when you're at the top of the pyramid in terms of money, you can control the government, you can control the media, you can control any part of society that is based on capital. You know, it's why it's such a hurdle to overcome these people. Because even if we beat the legislators, we've still got the media's like feeding these lies into people's heads, confusing the whole situation. But it'll come through social movements. It'll come through putting pressure on governments, not just in the ballot box and in their email inbox, but it'll come, you know, from protest, through civil disobedience, through forming networks, you know, getting together and actually making your voice heard. Because otherwise, if we just sit at home and complain about it, you know, we're not going to achieve anything. You know, there's got to be an alternative. You know, the globe is heating up by 4 degrees a year. We're gonna You know, our children, you know, well, they're going to look back and see, what were you doing all that for? What were you working your whole life for? But the moment is coming. The moment is coming. We will have our Syriza moment in the UK.